It is happening again. But, Twin Peaks references aside, hey guys, how's it going? We are doing another commentary on Eon Flux. I don't know if I'll do the whole series, but I'll at least do another pass over this first episode of Season 3 because, as I said before, I could do 1,000 commentaries on this fucking thing. It's incredibly information dense, and that's what you have to realize about this shit, okay? So my challenge to myself in this little exercise is going to be not to repeat myself, and hopefully to provide more insight into this crazy shit. So again, we have Trevor Goodchild's little... It's not quite totalitarian. It's a sort of scientocracy type of autocracy or autocratic system. And he has his opening monologue talking about quantum states and how the observer changes things and blah, blah, blah. And of course we have this guy who drops this package, which is something I didn't really talk about in my last pass over this shit. Basically, the guy with the package, it's in the same type of box. And just because it's in a uniform box that's a product of a society of automation and industrialization, uniform objects, they can be confused with one another more easily because they're copies of each other. They look the same. And so this guy's box of drugs or whatever illicit shit he was hoarding, Eon just swaps it for fun. But what she's really doing is she's setting up a distraction for Trevor because she knows through whatever intel she's gathered that he's about to set up a surveillance network. So she's like, I'm going to just plant little seeds of chaos, which is what women do. Women like Eon, specifically. So again, we have the sequence of her hacking and going through everything, blah, blah, blah. She understands all his little maze traps and things. And then, of course, we have the scene with him talking to the reporter. And with the advent of AI and robots popping up everywhere, I think we really are moving a little bit closer to the Eon Flux timeline. I really don't think... there may not be anything we can do at this point to change tracks, but we'll see. You know. And, of course, we have the eyes wide shut stuff. I'm going to distract you with sexual imagery while I do some shady shit. Shit, I think I already broke my rule and... repeated myself. Fuck. Forget I said that. So the reporter here, with her eye contrasted with the machine eye there, she's got a pen in her hand, and she sort of brandishes it in this scene right here, about 2 minutes, 30 seconds. It's almost like it's a weapon, you know, pen is mightier than the sword. And she has this video of Clavius, and something I didn't mention in my last pass-through, my critical pass-through of this, was that Clavius is the name of the Roman soldier that killed Christ. So the choice to name the fake emperor Clavius is an interesting one. It's not just a reference to the Roman Empire in general, which is kind of like Trevor's sort of militaristic society, but it's also a reference to the guy who killed Christ. So keep that in mind. And of course, when Eon walked over to that wall, she passed by the little bronze cylinder that is a Chekhov's gun image again. It's just behind her on the wall there. You can't see it. But it's where they find Gildemir tied up. And of course, Trevor mistakes, or Gildemir rather, mistakes the tied up Eon for Clavius. There's again a misidentification of things. And of course, Trevor had his own pen weapon. It was kind of a red herring that the reporter brandished her pen. Trevor was the one with the pen that doubles as a weapon. He was the one weaponizing language, just as he's weaponizing information now. And again, it's like in a society that's already based on lies and secrets and subterfuge and all sorts of obfuscation, even the truth eventually becomes a lie. It becomes impossible to tell the truth. That's when you know a society's about to collapse, is when it can't handle the truth of its own making. It can't even handle foundational truths. It's so obsessed with lies that when you try to bring people back from the veil of lies and tell them even one truth, they go insane. Which is a real bugbear, which is a term I love. And of course, Gildemir here, he thinks he can be more than an NPC, this little fuck. He's like, I could be a secret agent, I'm cool. Yeah, sure you are, bro. You're not ready at all. You should go back to standing your post and being a little guard drone like you were meant to be. Yeah. He pulls some slick moves, I gotta hand it to him, but he's in way over his head. I don't think I said that last time. Again, Trevor's fucking boxers fall down. That's intentional. He let them fall. He keeps showing his cock to the surveillance system. He's like, I don't care if you see my dick, it's 7 inches. You should enjoy the privilege of being able to see it. That's what he would say. So anyway, here he has his little body double come up and replace him, clones replacing people. That's been a thing since, by the way, the medieval age, where you've had lookalikes go to areas that royal people thought they might be threatened in. You'd send a body double. That's not a new thing. It doesn't even matter if they're actual clones. It's not a new practice. You shouldn't be shocked by that. If you're shocked by that, you're one of those people. A grain of truth will drive you nuts. You're surrounded by flies, choked by them. And of course, here he is with Clavius. And it's sort of like he's keeping the Christ story alive in a way. And also, something I want to mention, I'll go off on a tangent before I talk more about that, is when he talks about freeing Eon here, Eon is already free, you moron. She's already actually free. When his delusion is he loves his idea of Eon more than the actual woman. And it's signified by him rubbing his face on the dress. He's built a dress for her, a coating, a covering, a surface level thing, and he's more in love with that than with the actual woman. Or he's in love with his idea that he can dominate her or dominate chaos and actually integrate it into society. Maybe that's a noble thing and maybe it's necessary, but this particular guy is not ready for that. That's the point. She just snuck right in, infiltrated one of your guards, and she's not even afraid of your security system. She doesn't give a shit. She's like, yeah, here I am. Here's my mission. Does anyone believe any truths in this society now that it's a surveillance state? Of course they don't, because nothing is real if everything is surveilled. If everything's recorded all the time and captured, you have no goddamn idea what anybody is actually thinking or wants to do because they're performing all the time. The show must go on. Yeah, it's great. That's a great mantra. It's great until it becomes the entire soul and body of your society and no one can actually be themselves or do anything real or true, even behind closed doors, because it's revealed later that, of course, Trevor has cameras in people's homes. If you want to get really schizo about it, a cell phone can make a 3D picture of anything around it, if that's even a real thing. It could be bullshit. That's my point. You hear these rumors about technology, half of them could be bullshit. 85% of them could be bullshit. The point is, you're in a particular time in history when surveillance has reached a point of sophistication and the people controlling those systems are using it for their own ends, that no one actually knows, smart or dumb, or anywhere in between. Nobody knows what is true anymore. And the Soviets who escaped Stalin talk about this happening. They talk about reality and what's true and false, or wrong and right, becoming dissolved by the fact that the surveillance state has been set up in the first place. And Trevor's just using it as entertainment. This guy really needed just some Netflix or something. He maybe would have been okay with that. He's not quite at King Haggard levels where nothing makes him happy. He still enjoys the voyeuristic power fantasy of being in control and watching everyone. And he's even, he's bored by the typical shit. But again, one of those scenes we saw, harkening back to the little box that Eon put on the truck, was the guy who drove the truck getting blamed for a crime he didn't commit, because Eon represents entropy, chaos, etc., which you cannot ever fully integrate, and you can't ever fully defeat it. That's the point. If it could be defeated that easily, then this game of reality we're in wouldn't be very much fun, would it? And I'm not some believer in some bullshit pseudo-spiritual Gnostic, the Archon Eon clowns are in the checkerboard surrounding the real universe, and they're the ones making the game, and they're the dungeon masters. I don't believe in any of that crap. That's just nonsense. The point is that you can point to phenomenon in reality that are mathematically measurable, and mathematics is the language of God, that will tell you that chaos and randomness exist. And they exist because, quote-unquote God, whatever that is, wanted them to exist. So again, we have this scene going on. And it's like Trevor's show that he wanted to put on for himself is turning against him because he's a little too pissed off. And the little glyph, rune, sigil, eyepiece thing he's looking through, the little key, is not giving him what he wants it to give, which is some sense of domination over Eon. He wants to feel superior to her by knowing what she's doing. But she knows that his vision of her is a facade. It's like the dress. And he doesn't want to make her free, which is why she keeps rejecting him. It's why she all she does is play with him. The time when her one clone actually fucks him is out of pity, and that is a level of hell you never want to be in as a man. If anyone is fucking you out of pity, or doing anything for you out of pity, that means the person is abusing you by ingratiating a part of yourself that shouldn't be encouraged or worshipped, or no energy should be devoted to anything in you that is pitiable. Even a physical deformity, if you have to turn yourself into a circus freak to celebrate your deformity, fine. If it's a deformity or a flaw that is psychological, or if it's a physical deformity you have at birth, or whatever it is, if it's not something that you can cure, like, some parasite infection with wormwood, if the memories in your brain are what made you gay, if it was a past trauma, if it was a series of events in your brain that you can't delete without, I don't know, wiping your memory and turning you into a vegetable, or turning you into fucking Jack Nicholson from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, if that's your lot in life, you just gotta deal with it. And people suggesting pseudo-scientific herbal cures to you, those cures might be legit and they might work for a lot of people. But if your problem is psychological or mental, you just got to deal with it. And that's what Trevor's dealing with in this story. Is he's dealing with a vision of Eon that he created in his own head. He's a bit of a spurg, you might say. And so he's designed an entire society. I mean, this is what the elites really do. Is they play with NPCs or pawns in order to accomplish their confrontation of their own psyche on a grand scale. They can't just meditate and read books and shut the fuck up and do some work and make some art. They can't do any of 1,000 other things. They have to say, no, I have to control 50 million people and watch them skitter around according to my whims. That's the only way I can cope. It's just sad, man. Like when you really realize why rich and famous people are driven to the point that they get driven to, where they have to make more money, they have to control more people, they have to build bigger and bigger things, even if it destroys the environment. And again, a lot of environmentalism, I don't know if I agree with, the apocalyptic shit. But what I do agree with is we're poisoning our water and air. Like, set aside the global temperature shit. If you don't agree with that, fine. We are poisoning our water and air, though. You can measure that. That's a result of people like Trevor Goodchild here living out grand sex fantasies and thinking reality is a game and not giving a shit about any of their actions except how those actions serve their own image. And even their image of themselves, it's like the dress again. It's like the dress inside Clavius's belly. It's a false self-image that turns you into Trevor Goodchild, or into a guy who buys Ferraris, or a guy who has to gather a bunch of thralls around his ideas and tell everybody what to do. It doesn't matter if your motives might actually be good. If you're behaving like this, you're behaving that way not because you're some kind of Giga Chad, enlightened Ubermensch guy. You're behaving that way because there's some part of yourself you don't like. And you know you can't get rid of it. You know all the working out and dieting and pills and supplements and whatever aren't going to get rid of it. And you hate yourself for it. That's why you're externalizing your self-hate by trying to turn reality into a giant Lego set that you can rearrange and build any way you like. No matter if it destroys itself in the end, if you're destroying everything. And look at Trevor. He's clutching the bed sheets. He's like a child. He doesn't know any of this. He doesn't know himself. That's the problem. It's a problem with every tyrant. Good leaders are men who are forced into leading. They're forced into it every single fucking time. The actually good authority figures in human history, look it all up. I bet you every one of them was not a ladder climber. They were a random guy who was forced into their position of leadership. Now here we have Eon, and she's confronting Trevor's idea of her. This is about 14 minutes, 28 seconds in. And she's saying, oh, this is the little baby boy fetish fantasy you had of me as your little princess. Isn't this quaint? And she goes, why don't you wear it? Because it's your vision of yourself that it represents. This piece of art you've had made to try to cover the real me up is your vision of yourself. And Trevor goes, you don't know what's going on. And she goes, I sure don't, man. And That's the tragedy of this, is if she knew the reason he was making this, she's either lying to him or she doesn't know. She doesn't know the extent of his psychosis, and she steps on the rose, all his flowery imagery, and she's all at the same time, she's sympathetic to him. She's like, hey, that Gildemir guy, that little Nazi dude, he's gonna fuck you over and like ruin your surveillance state, bro. And he just goes, you're not gonna take me down. I'm too epic. And it's like, she's not even trying to take you down. She's probably trying to save you. She's trying to get you out of this hell that's based on your own misperception of yourself. Like, for fuck's sake, go to Monica and go be a cool assassin with Eon. If Eon invited me to do that, I'd do it in a second. God damn. I wouldn't imagine I could ever be in a relationship with someone like that, but I would, if she was like, you were one of, if this is bullshit, but if Eon was like, you don't belong in Trevor's surveillance state, that's a nightmare hell. Come be a fun Gildemir rebel with me, and I'll teach you the ropes. That would be badass. That would be cool. But nobody in this series is like that, because that would be incredibly cringe and corny. The characters in this are established characters. They're already they've gone down their life path so far that they can't be changed, which is convenient for a 15-minute episode. You can't, this is why this series needs to be revived. It needs to continue to exist. Get the same people back, or if some of them are dead, get clones of them, or as close as you can get, and keep this going, because it's only gotten more relevant as time's gone by. And you could keep the entire aesthetic from the early 90s of all the tech. Just keep it. Don't change that. Just keep the philosophy and the creativity behind it, because Peter Chung, you are a real one, man. This shit has helped me through some dark times and some confusion about reality and how it works. It's extremely important, especially for idiots like me, who, our brains, my brain is too min-maxed in one direction, and I can't be a normal person. I've known that for a long time, but at least I can talk about cool shit, and 5 of you will appreciate it. So, anyway, this guy's like, I was integrating these smugglers and criminals and getting them to make money that I could then use to better society. So he was essentially doing the kind of work that Trevor wants to do with Eon. He wants to integrate her into his vision of society. And this guy wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty. He was a real asshole. He was making CIA money from cocaine, all that type of shit. He was doing shady shit in order to keep society running. And that's what politicians have to do. Even the good ones have to do it. They have to get into some nasty shit to save people's lives. And the average idiot on the street won't understand that. They won't understand the necessity of it. When you need money right away, when you have a structured settlement and you need cash now, that type of shit, you have to turn to some shady things. If raising taxes would not be popular for your next re-election, that's a case where you should still do that. But these politicians, their egos are the size of planets. A guy in this position, his ego is the size of Saturn. That's the reason that Trevor shut down his base of credit. It wasn't because he disagreed morally with any of the shady shit. It was just to depose him. It was just to replace him. That's all. And again, it's revealed that Clavius was just some kind of like drone, hollowed out, homunculus robot thing. And again, Eon's kind of trying to help Gildemir. She's kind of trying to wake him up. She's like, listen, buddy, you're so fucking naive. You don't realize that we're in a simulation, a holographic video game. And so I'm going to just leave you to your bullshit, because you're not supposed to wake up. And he gets pissed, like a child. Again, like Trevor, he reacts like a child. These men are not men, they're children. A lot of men like this exist now, and a lot of them are in leadership positions. That should horrify you. That should really fucking scare you if you're awake. That we are being led not by tyrants and evil demons and, oh, they're so scary. We're being led by children. That's horrifying, man. You know, Alan Moore has this quote where he goes, "The world is rudderless." No, the world is being run. The captain of the ship is a 5-year-old. That's fucked, man. And again, Trevor's all about control. He's all about the dom-sub relationship. I would guess he's a dom, just by his actions. And again, these people are putting on plays for themselves to watch. There's no higher dimensional elves or anything watching it. They're voyeurs that want to put on giant plays to entertain themselves. It doesn't benefit the people. It never benefits them. Sure, they might have an everyday illusion that gets them through the toil of work, but you could have an illusion like that that isn't an abusive giant play that requires ridiculous expenditures of time, money, and resources into like worthless epitaphs or ridiculous like bullshit. Like it's not necessary. You don't have, your society doesn't have to look like this, man. That's why I love this series. Is in part it's saying that. It's motivating because it's saying this is so clownish that reality doesn't have to resemble this. It does not have to become, you know, clown flux. It doesn't have to be this way. And Eon, the woman, she might just be the one who saves it with her pussy, as this scene is implying. And that's not a degenerate, you know, hedonistic thing. It's that the sense of breaking illusions with biological reality is the most powerful thing a woman can do. She can look at all the bullshit and say, what's really biologically real is that we're human and I can bear you a child if you're a competent man. That is so powerful as a message that it breaks through all of Trevor's bullshit. And he doesn't see it. Part of him does, but here he is in his big Egyptian tower. Oh, he's so epic and cool. But he's not interested in collaboration with Eon. He's not interested in integrating chaos or integrating his shadow in a Jungian sense. Instead, he just wants to control her. And he kind of understands that. He kind of knows he's trapped. And Eon knows that too. And she blows him a kiss and she goes, maybe someday, man, maybe someday I won't be so relentlessly chaotic and you won't be such a totalitarian prick. But anyway, that's my second commentary about episode 1. Perhaps we'll do more, because I have fun doing this. But anyway, guys, thank you all for watching. I hope you're doing well in your lives. Make sure you stay hydrated. Don't drink too much, or if you are drinking, stay really hydrated. And take some milk thistle extract. And what else? I don't know. Personally, again, I was just shitting on supplements 10 minutes ago, but ashwagandha is nice if you have anxiety, and routine and diet and pills of other kinds have not helped it. Ashwagandha will lower your cortisol levels, which is your adrenaline threat response. If you're not actually in a threatening situation, then it's not a bad idea to take a little bit of that. Helps you sleep. And if you don't sleep, you will go nuts, for real. So, all that having been said, thank you again for listening, and as always, peace out, Clavius.